What happened to the Black woman who could not be absorbed into domestic service in the cities at the end of the 19th century? The only alternative occupation that was easy to adjust to was beer brewing. This is a quote from the late Ellen Kuzwai, who was a South African activist, social worker, who later became a parliamentarian. In 1980, the domestic scale brewing of traditional African beer was the greatest single source of employment, particularly for single women in some African countries. Now, I'll share a little story, but I'll be vague enough to prevent anyone from getting arrested. I personally have an elderly family member who started selling her home brew in 1970 for economic independence. And people like her continue to exist today. The customarily nutritious traditional African beer is subjected to poor hygienic conditions in its production process. Moreover, different variations which are easier to brew have become popular but dangerous concoctions. The prominent solution to steer people away from dangerous concoctions has been the production of low-cost beers industrially. But as these concoctions continue to exist and grow, government recently passed a legislation restricting ingredients allowed for brewing traditional African beer. Today, I'm going to offer a solution which engages home brewers, enabling them to produce the traditionally wholesome beverage efficiently, safely, and legally. The solution is to sell a brewing machine which allows the brewer to produce their product in less time with less ingredients, prevent contamination, allowing them to achieve a more consistent product. Moreover, we sell and deliver monthly consumables according to the brewer's recipe. This machine and consumables will make the brewer's operation more efficient, and efficiency matters to them because greater efficiency means more profit. The market for home-brewed beers was valued at 4.3 billion rands in 2020, with an observed growth rate of 12.5%. The typical brewer is an African woman who lives in a rural area or township. She might be illiterate and mainly relies on her senses to brew. She manufactures at home and sells in her backyard. And her main challenge is to brew efficiently and safely while catering to the needs of her customer. Here is how Kwela Brews works. We sell the machine once off. We then install the machine and help the home brewer recreate their recipe. We then collect this data and prepare monthly ingredient packages to be delivered to the brewer. And this part is where we aim to make most of our money. Our competition includes producers of low-cost beers who aim to lure customers away from home-brewed products, producers of home brewing equipment who have not reached to low-income areas, producers of pre-mixed ingredients who sell generic mixtures and block the creativity of the brewer, and producers of beer flavorants who mainly produce hops-derived flavorants, and these are prohibited for the production of African traditional beer as per the new legislation. I aim to reach brewers of traditional African beer through local radio stations where they can engage with the concept in their own language, road shows so that they can interact with us and the product, and this will allow us to build trust, and to make community partnerships with organizations that are working towards cultivating healthier communities. I am Brigitte Evans. I consider myself an engineer without borders as I want to use my skills to help develop underserved communities. I also believe in human-centered design as collaboration with the end user is the best method to solve their problem. With the 20,000 Rand, I would dedicate 3 months to testing my assumptions as I develop prototypes and test with a small group of people who include my elderly family member and her fellow home brewers in her community. At the end of this, I aim to have a final design and prepare for market entry. I am seeking mentorship to guide me on this journey. I'm also seeking a co-founder with a business-related background. Finally, I need to clarify the legalities, as although government is aware of home brewers who sell their product, the new legislation is specifically for dangerous home brews. There is still a gray area, however, on how much home brewers are allowed to sell, are allowed to make and sell. thank you for your time, and I welcome your questions.
I have a question. It's Brigitte here. I think one of the safety issues, as you mentioned, is hygiene. But isn't another safety issue the fact that there's little control over the fermentation process, and that can result in toxic alcohol?
Yeah, that's another issue that the brewing machine can work towards, controlling the fermentation process better. So the idea is that the brewing machine allows the brewer to do everything in just that one piece of equipment. And so we can create settings and control the conditions efficiently to prevent the over fermentation.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the machine itself, can you explain to us what that is? Have you designed it?
No, I'm yet to design it. But the idea is that the machine includes all the process steps that are used in home brewing. And so these are quite easy to mimic. So first you start with your mixture of grains and water, and you allow those to sour, and then you add your yeast before you add your yeast, you first cook the mixture, and then you add your yeast and water, and then you allow it to ferment. And so another thing to allow the cleanliness is that the machine would easily clean itself to ensure that the environment in which the brew is made is free of toxins. And that's what would really help. Thanks, Brigitte.
Sorry, Anton, before you go, Anton, Simon. To me, didn't you say that you have tried this already yourself?
Yes, I have brewed myself. So I'm quite familiar with the process, and my elderly family member and many Black women who have come before me know the process very well. And so the key in the prototyping stage is to see exactly how they would want to interact with the machine, because they're used to doing everything with their hands. And that provides a lot of opportunity for contamination. And to be honest, it's so much work. I really just want a machine.
Okay, any other questions? Anton, do you have a question?
So two of the questions that I've noted down, you've already kind of alluded to. My first question would have been, are there any regulatory concerns? And you mentioned dangerous concoctions. So that's obviously something that you would have to be very clear about. But yes, my main question is really around what economics drive the local beer brewing. And you mentioned that it's done in a way that requires great efficiency. Can the people that currently do the home brewing, can they even afford your machine? Have you done some basic costing around it and compared it to the cost that is currently involved? Can you offer them greater efficiencies through your suggested product and process?
Okay, thank you for that question. So yeah, you spoke about the economics that drive this market, and the reason why many brewers move towards these dangerous concoctions is because it takes much less time to brew the dangerous concoction than the traditional recipe. And so with the machine, what we can offer is after they set the machine to operate automatically, it doesn't need them to engage with it for the beer to be made. And so we can decrease the brewing time to sort of match those of the dangerous concoctions for them to sell. And this is why efficiency is very important. When it comes to the costing, I'm still looking at how best to make this product low cost. And the main area is to look at the material for the equipment. So aluminium is the one that is the most low cost. But another thing that I'm looking at doing is bringing on a financing partner who will help them finance this machine. So these are things that I'm thinking of testing. If that doesn't work, then I could think about giving them the machine for free if they promise if they promise to buy the consumables for us for at least 12 months. And that would allow the machine to pay itself off, essentially.